Hello and welcome to Murky's communication guide for Project Reality 0.97 something and above. And the idea of this guide is that when you're playing Project Reality, communication is obviously very important. It's important to get it right. So I've discussed squad leading and being a medic, which obviously have elements of communication in the past. But today I'm talking specifically about how to communicate in Project Reality effectively. So in terms of the structure of this guide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs people use and my keybinds. I'm going to talk about the actual communication protocol you should be using as a squad member and a squad leader. And then I'm going to talk about miscellaneous tips, tricks, and things I've picked up and things that I do, which hopefully you might find useful. So without further ado, I'm going to start discussing the programs we use. So in terms of programs, obviously Battlefield 2 and therefore Project Reality have in-game VoIP as default, which I think the default key is B for Bravo, which lets you talk to people in your squad. And now this program, this in-game VoIP, isn't very good. It's laggy, it's low quality on the mic, and some people tend to be loud, some quiet, and in some servers it's actually disabled because they use other things. So I wouldn't necessarily rely on in-game VoIP. In fact, I personally have the volume quite low so that people aren't loud on it, because generally speaking, people I play with don't use it. In terms of other options, the principal thing I'm going to talk about is Mumble. So when you download the latest versions of Project Reality, they should come bundled with Project Reality Mumble Beta version 1.0, I think it is. And so after you install PR, it should say, do you want to install Mumble? Now, yes, click yes. It's worth remembering to install it as an administrator. Similarly, run the exe file as an administrator on Windows 7. You should have no problems. If you've already installed PR and you want to get Mumble, there is links in the main forum somewhere. I'll link to the main forum at the bottom. Give it a bit of search on that. You can find Mumble just to download and install as is. So let's say you've installed Mumble. Congratulations. You need to set up some keys. So you have two principal keys that aren't set in Mumble from the get-go. One is local speech, which is what you use to talk to everyone. You can talk to everyone from the commander down to blue guys, people in your squad, everyone around you, using one key, which is local speech. I have that set to one of the buttons on my mouse, so I can get to it easy. And that's directional. So if you're behind someone, you can say, "Hey, throw ammo over here, man. I'm hungry for ammo." The second option you have, the second button, which you might bind, is in-game, the intra-squad communication. So that's a button that only talks to your squad members. It's like a radio, like in real life, which will let you talk to your squad members however far away you are. I have mine mapped to the Windows key, which doesn't do anything in terms of PR, which is nice and near the movement keys, which I use for talking to my squad mates in Mumble. Now, as I said, if you run it as an admin and you join a server, once you actually join a squad inside the server, you should automatically join that squad in Mumble. Providing you're not deafened or muted and your mic is working, as soon as you join a squad, bang, you can talk to them. Hey guys, hello, how are you doing? What do you want me to do? That kind of thing. Other options besides Mumble include third-party options like I personally use TeamSpeak 3. I guess you could use Vent or anything you wanted. You could Skype with people if you wanted while you were killing people on Project Reality. So I have another key on my mouse for TeamSpeak, and lots of people in clans use this kind of thing, so they can talk in game and they can talk just to their clanmates on a TeamSpeak server as well, which I find quite useful. So as long as you have Mumble, obviously default in-game VoIP, you should be able to talk to pretty much everyone. So first off, just install it. It's really easy, and it's the future of PR in terms of team play. A lot of servers now, as I said, have disabled in-game VoIP and will kick you if you're not in Mumble. And we do lots of sweet Mumble-only events as well, which you can see on the main forum. So I would recommend it. Finally, I did mention a few keybinds. I'll also mention I have a few extra ones that do things like I can lower and raise the volume in TeamSpeak and Mumble, and deafen and mute myself in Mumble and TeamSpeak, just in case. So if I get in a truck and I can't hear anything all of a sudden, just a couple of keys, and then everything's a bit louder so I can hear again. Similarly, in Mumble, before the round starts, everyone can hear everyone. It can get a bit much because people are undisciplined. So it's also worth having a key to just deafen yourself so you can actually think before the game starts. So if you've got time to remember, it's worth having a few shortcuts for these kind of things. Okay, so now on to the meat of the guide, which is communication protocol. This is how you should be communicating, in my opinion, in Project Reality. Now, the principal thing you have to always remember is keep it simple, keep it short, and transmit in the order of importance. So you don't want to say, hi everyone, see that tree? See that tree over there? Yeah? There's a man, and he's throwing grenades at you, watch out. That's the stupid way to do it. First thing you should say is, grenade, watch out, enemy infantry, direction. So, generally, the order it goes is, if you haven't played with these people before, or you're not sure if they know who you are, say, this is murky. And then say, after identifying who you are, say what it is you're trying to say. So you'd say, this is murky, either I need ammo, or I need a medic, or enemy infantry spotted, or watch out for that fucking great tank. After you've talked about what it is they need to know, if you need a direction or a location element, then you say that. So you'd say, this is murky, I need a medic, and I'm behind you, I'm to the south. Or you could say, this is murky, watch out for that massive tank, he's northeast 100 meters inbound. Finally, after you've identified who you are, what it is you're talking about, and where it is, the final thing is any suggestions. If you feel confident enough to give suggestions, you could say, enemy infantry northeast, I'm going to hide in this bush, or I'm out of ammo, I'm going to pull my knife out and climb a tree and be very scared. Maybe not the last one, but if you feel confident, you know what you're doing, feel free to give a suggestion about what you're going to do. So you'd say, enemy infantry northeast, I'm flanking west, something like that. Okay, so besides keeping it simple and communicating in the order of importance, it's also worth remembering there are specific terms we use in Project Reality. So for example, if you have spotted an enemy, that means you've seen them, but they haven't necessarily seen you. So the onus is on you to do something. If you've just spotted an enemy, you can flank, you can fall back, you can hide, you can spread out and surround them. The opposite of spotted is contact, and contact means someone's seen me, they know where I am, and they're about to try and ruin my day. So you should try and differentiate between enemy infantry spotted and contact infantry, because those are quite different things. Similarly, in terms of distance, you could say danger close, which means literally within spitting distance, less than 5 meters, for example. You can say close, which means pretty close, time to do something about it. Far away is obviously far away. You can add elements like high and low, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, these short specific terms have different meanings in terms of meters on different maps. So, for example, far on Kashan is not the same as far on Acid Kal. It's just a relative term. Other specific things are if you've been shot and you're bleeding, then you're injured or you're bleeding. If you've been wounded, then you have 5 minutes to be revived, then you're wounded. If you're dead, as people call it, then you're down or you're dead. There's no point saying, I'm hit, they got me, because they got me could mean anything. Other specific things are, if you know what type of vehicle it is, or what kind of kit you're facing against, say it. Don't just say, there's armor. It's better to be more specific, so you can say track vehicle. Or preferably if you said, if you knew what it is, BRDM, BTR, BMP, Warrior, Scimitar, Challenger, it's worth assuming your squad leader has been playing for a while, and so knows the difference between these vehicles. So the more specific you can be, the better. The same thing applies when you're talking about buildings. Lots of clans and people who play a lot have specific terms for buildings. So the House of Pain is a building, the triple with the stairs is a building, hotel, that kind of thing. I mean, if you don't know them, you could just say building with the face paint on the side of it, and people will probably be able to guess which one that is, because you have to assume your squad leader has been playing for quite a while. So if you have specific descriptions for stuff, it's best to use that. It's not a good idea to say there's a man by a tree if you're on Kazelsk or something, because there's trees everywhere, and there's probably men by a lot of them as well. Another part of describing where enemy infantry are, besides the distance and these specific terms, is you have to consider how close you are to your squad leader or whoever you're talking to. So if you're right next to a guy, then a specific grid is great. If you can say he's northeast, or he's 240, or 245 plus 2, something like that, that's very specific. And if you're spotting for a sniper who's right next to you, that's fine. But if you're half a grid away from someone, then saying a bearing wouldn't be much use. It's better, if time is of the essence, just to say northeast, or north of you, or north of me. Be very specific about it. Alternatively, basically in specifics, you have most specific thing being degrees from the compass at the bottom. Then you have obviously northeast, south, that kind of thing. If you're miles away, you can use the grid. So remember, in the map, you have obviously alpha to mic and then 1 to 8. And then inside the grid you have these 9 keypads, which correspond to the keypads which you can see faintly in alpha 1 on the map. So if you want to be specific and you're far away from someone, say, yeah, I think this tank has been reported in Charlie 6 key 9, then you can make that more specific by saying Charlie 6 key 9 sub key 3, for example. So that's another way to describe position if you're far away. Similarly, you could say they're east of the next flag, or they're by the hotel if everyone knows where the hotel is. Finally, you could say they're next to commander set waypoints. So you could say that tank is next to waypoint Bravo now, for example. Similarly, it's also best to use the phonetic alphabet, alpha to mic, if you can. Okay, so that's communicating as a squad member, being short, being simple, specific, and communicating in the order of importance. For a squad member, it's basically the same, but there's a couple extra. For a squad leader, there's a couple extra things you need to remember. So firstly, as a squad leader, you might have lots of people talking to you. You'll have someone on TeamSpeak, you have someone on Mumble, you have squad members chatting, people in local Mumble chatting, and sometimes you need to talk to the commander or something specific needs to go down. In which case you should say stand by, or hold comms, or shut up your face. Which means everyone shut up because I'm talking to someone and I've got more important things to think about than you do. So if you are in a squad and the squad leader says stand by, that means shut your mouth. This is really important. Just be quiet because he's talking to someone. So you're talking to someone as a squad leader. It's worth, if you're talking to someone using Mumble, the number pads 1 to 9 on the keyboard, if you have a number pad, correspond to the numbers of the squad. So say you're squad 5 and squad 7 is running mortars, then you could press number 7 key and talk to squad 7 and ask for mortars, which is great. But when you do that, be sure to tell them who you are. So they might want to talk to you again, and they don't know who you are necessarily. They might not have the Mumble overlay, which you can get in the settings. So if I was calling in mortars from squad 7, I'd say, squad 7, this is 5. I'd like mortars in Charlie 9, key 6. Over. Don't necessarily say over, but you definitely say, squad 7, this is 5. And then squad 7 knows who it is, and then they can go, okay, 5, what was that? You need mortars? Cool beans. You say, yes, this is 5. Mortars indeed. I've got enemy flop, or what have you. But so ask, make sure they know who they are and who you are. After you talked for a minute, you can just say, this is 5, and assume they know what's going on. I forgot to mention the opposite, effectively, of standby or hold comms is radio free or clear channel, or what is it? What's so important? Why are you talking to me? So let's say you had to call in mortars, you'd say standby squad 7, this is 5, mortars please. 5, this is 7, yeah, sounds great. Then you say radio free, and that means they can talk to you again. If you're a squad member and this is all going on, and there's someone with a knife running up behind the squad leader, and he's miles away, you can interrupt. Just say break, or yo, squad leader, watch out. I'm sure you won't mind in that case. Otherwise, just type it up. Use squad communication, default L for Lima. Okay, so to reiterate, I'm just going to go into a few tips and tricks now. But to reiterate, be short, be specific, transmit in the order of importance, and if it's all a bit much and you have the time, think about what you're going to say before you say it. Similarly, in terms of tricks and tips, I'd recommend not using voice activation. I'd use push to talk on all these programs. Identify yourself if people don't know who you are. I think I mentioned the grid and the key grid and the subgrid, you should know that. I have 2 monitors, so if you have 2 monitors, if you're lucky enough, it's worth maybe having Mumble, and I have TeamSpeak up as well, so I can see specifically who's talking and who's deafened, who's left the channel, that kind of thing. Although there are overlays for Mumble. Any other tips or advice? I think that's it. Happy days. This was mostly my own personal opinion and things I've learned. Some of it is based on the communication protocol from 3DAC, so thank you guys to whoever wrote that. I have a suspicion that it's based on the old Kata PRT team communication protocol, so thank you to whoever was in Kata. And if you guys are interested in communication and being good team players, I'd recommend the Mumble only events they run through the main forum, and similarly the TART tournament is running now as well. So happy communicating, happy mumbling, and most of all, good hunting. Cheers.